And Brett Tolman, former U.S. Attorney and Executive Director of Right on Crime. Brett, let's pick up where Mark left off there. I thought, having been in the briefing 2 days ago now, that actually the answer Karine gave him when she said no, the president will not ever pardon his son, was the most definitive answer she's given on this topic in probably weeks. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it jumps ahead to a place they're really not quite prepared to answer questions for. That answer will very much change if something happens differently going forward. I mean, you're talking about an individual that's pronouncing this a personal matter of Hunter Biden, a personal matter where he is escorted to the courthouse in a Secret Service motorcade, a personal matter in which DOJ has apparently agreed to two different plea agreements with them, one that's verbal and behind the scenes and one that's on paper. And it took all but 5 minutes of a judge asking some solid, normal in the courtroom questions for it to all fall apart. So I'm not optimistic we're going to get straight answers going forward, but it depends on what DOJ does.
Jonathan Turley described it to me last night such that it was basically as if Judge Noreika sneezed and then the entire plea deal fell apart, Andy. Is there any chance that they're going to resurrect this in 30 days, or is that really a pipe dream?
No, I think they'll try to resurrect it, Julian. I'm proceeding from the premise that what the Justice Department did yesterday was a complete deception. They basically got caught doing exactly what the Hunter lawyers said was the essence of the agreement, which was to give him a free ride, to give him complete immunity arising out of anything that came out of the Biden family business and all of his activities from 2014 going forward. Politically, the Justice Department couldn't admit that that was what they were doing, so they said, yeah, sure, there's an ongoing investigation and he could be charged again. But the fact of the matter is, if there really was an ongoing investigation into serious conduct, then you would never be giving a sweetheart plea deal to the main subject or one of the main subjects of the investigation in the middle of the ongoing investigation in an agreement where you're promising not to recommend any prison time. Why would you do that if you're investigating serious conduct and it may turn out that he's guilty of much more serious crimes? So I don't think there's anything really serious about this investigation. They're posturing that they took it, that they're conducting a serious investigation. And the reason Karine Jean-Pierre is able to call this a personal matter is because that's basically the position that the Justice Department took in the factual stipulation that they filed with the court yesterday. If you were conducting a serious investigation, you'd be saying Hunter Biden got this money through bribery, capitalizing on his father's political influence, and didn't pay his taxes as part of a pattern of trying to hide the proceeds of that. And instead, what the Justice Department agreed with Hunter in the factual stipulation is that he's a lawyer who has high-end clients, he makes a lot of money, and he was drug-addled, so he forgot to pay his taxes. I
want to make sure I get Brett back in here. Critics, are saying, Brett, that in the wake of this deal essentially falling apart yesterday, the case for bringing in a special counsel now is stronger than ever. What do you think?
Well, it's been strong, and Jillian, I think you hit on an important issue, and that is there's not confidence that the DOJ isn't running a protection racket for the Bidens, and if that's where we're at, and the plea deal even seems worse than it was before, then yeah, I would reiterate that a special counsel needs to be appointed, and with it, they need to have broad jurisdiction to be able to investigate all manner of leads that the evidence leads them to. And they also have to have full charging capability in any jurisdiction in the country. And that's probably not going to happen under Merrick Garland's watch. But I'll just add, Jillian, one important factor for people to consider is he's now been charged and DOJ is in a box. They either have to pursue the case as it is and not renegotiate, or they have to decide to renegotiate a deal that is going to be acceptable to someone who believed they were going to be able to plead to this sweetheart deal and then not be prosecuted for anything else. In the end, if they decide to try to dismiss the case, this judge is the one who will be required to determine whether or not dismissal is political or is it based on the merits. And she may deny such a dismissal. So they're in a box right now and of their own making.
Some news now, just into the newsroom. Fox can confirm for a court official that no indictments are expected to be handed up today in the probe of former President Trump. I want to get reaction to that news from each of you. Andy, why don't you take a stab first?
I think this goes to what we were saying before, Jillian, which is they made colorable, strong legal arguments, I'm sure, against the indictment in the meeting, and Smith's team has to at least look like they're taking that seriously.
And Brett, it seems that perhaps the former president got his wish. This, every day delayed in this potential indictment, potential trial, he believes is in his favor.
Yeah, this meeting is called a reverse proffer meeting. This is a meeting in which the defendant gets to basically present information that may persuade them to do something different. I don't think it will persuade the prosecutors, but I hope in the end of this meeting, the defense team is saying, we've produced for you or provided exculpatory evidence. We think you have an obligation to present that to the grand jury. And that will be difficult for them because they are obligated to present such evidence to a grand jury. Interesting.
Andy, what do you make about the implications this has for the political calendar? Again, the longer this goes on, this entire process, no matter which way it goes, you end up with a scenario where the DOJ is potentially prosecuting the former president, but while he's the current president's, chief political rival.
I just think, Jillian, that the way that the criminal justice process works tees up exactly for what the Democrats want, which is they want to see Trump get nominated. They realize that when they file these indictments, it prevents the other candidates from getting traction. It zooms Trump up in the polls because right now the audience is the Republican base. And then what the Democrats are calculating is that if they can move some of these cases to trial in the coming months, the audience at that point is the general electorate. It's not just a Republican base. And the trials and the hearings are where all the damaging information about Trump comes out. So they get exactly what they want. They get the Republican nominee they want, and they get to basically kill him with information in the run-up to the election.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for all the time with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to leave it there. We'll check back in with you as news warrants. Thank you.